Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? So I am pretty excited for this video because we're going to be talking about all the new indie makeup releases from the past week and my personal opinion on them. So before we jump in, I just want to let you know that this video series is inspired by Angelica Nikis and Samantha March. So their channels will be linked down below, as well as all the Instagram accounts that I use for this video and to get the pictures and the information. So I also wanted to mention that if you do like this eye look that I've got currently going on, please let me know because I filmed a first impression on the Maybe Cosmetics Take Me to Tokyo palette, which is what I have on my eyes right now, and my mic wasn't on, which I feel awesome about, so I can probably edit it into a tutorial. It probably won't be super long or in depth. I'll probably just have to do a voiceover, but if you do still want to see that, just let me know because I do really like how the eye look turned out, so I did want to mention that. So let's just go ahead and jump in. Alright, so the first thing I want to talk about today is from Max Up the Makeup Cosmetics, which is a new brand, and they have been sneak peeking one shade at a time for their new palette, and they have finally showed the entire thing. So there are 9 shades here, which I'm really loving all the different 9-pan palettes that are coming out, but I really like the color scheme of this. There's some like soft pinks, like a deeper red, some greens, some blues. So this is kind of like the best of both worlds for me because I just love pinks and reds and greens and blues and all colors really, but those in particular I really like to wear, which is actually what I have on my eyes today. I like this. I'm interested in it. I think it's pretty, and they did actually go ahead and reveal what the palette is going to look like in the background and everything, which I think is so cute because I thought it was just going to be the white background, but no, they have all the names here. There's Fringe, Groovy, Vintage, Daisy Chain, Hippy Dippy, Psychedelic Summer, Thrifting, Festival, and Paisley, and I thought this was super cute. So obviously it's kind of like a 60s groovy theme, so I think it looks adorable. Alright, so next I wanted to talk about a new shade from Kaos Cosmetics, and this is the shade Salience, and you guys can obviously see it's a really beautiful pigment, purple blue shift, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Kaos in general because they have a lot of really beautiful, interesting, shimmery pigments. Like they do the whole thing with their hand. I just dropped my phone. They do the whole thing where they like sit there and do this, and like they have like a huge swatch, and it's like all the different colors you can see. It's so stunning. So I don't know if I'm not trying to pick up any more like loose pigments because I tend to not use them as often, but I definitely would say I have my eyes like kind of on the brand and seeing what they're coming out with. So these next 2 palettes I can talk about together. There is the Just Peachy Cosmetics Juicy Fruit eyeshadow palette, which I'll put on screen right now, and then I'll go ahead and add the new pressed pigment palette from Leo Lashes. And I feel like deep in my soul, I see a colorful palette and I'm like, ooh, colors. And then like in like the back of my head, I hear Angelica Nikis go, the rainbow is curated for you. And it's just kind of really made me think twice about different eyeshadow palettes and kind of to just expect more and more thought. And, you know, I just want more of my color scheme. I want something interesting, something that makes you feel creative, and these are both just straight up rainbow palettes, so those are both passes for me. There's also some new shades coming out from Lana Beauty Cosmetics, which is a brand that I really want to try. They're Australian, and these look really beautiful. I do just look so foiled and pretty in all the swatches and all the pictures, which is probably why I keep staring at it and just keep thinking about the brand. So I think those are really stunning, especially like the shade Pink Tropics kind of looks like that pinky gold shift, which I have so many shades like that, but I'm just such a sucker for it. Even though I don't even wear it that often, I just think there's something about a pinky gold shift that makes me happy. And speaking of shifts, there's also another sneak peek here from Amy Hearts Beauty because they are coming out with new Duochromes. And I mean, this just kind of speaks for itself. This is absolutely stunning. It looks like a purple base with like a really icy blue reflect. That looks so pretty. So I'm very curious to see what else they have up their sleeve, what other duochromes there are going to be. I am such a sucker for a good pressed duochrome, so I'm excited. So next I figured I would mention two different things from Menagerie Cosmetics. So one is that their liquid lipsticks will be launching Friday, January 4th. So we have a date now, and there's going to be, what is it, 13 shades, and they're going to be $16 each. They did mention that if you made an order during their Black Friday sale, you were going to get a coupon for 20% off their liquid lipsticks, but I don't know if that's supposed to come in email or if it was supposed to be in your order or what, but I didn't get one, which is probably a good thing because I really don't need any more lipsticks. But I've heard really good things about their formula, but also I don't think I'm going to get any. I don't think I need any. But I wanted to mention that they announced that they went ahead and took the feedback for their Feral eyeshadow palette, because the top row is all like really neutral shades, and it was kind of like the top row was like, nah, like I don't really need it. Like, that's why it took me a little bit longer to buy it, because the top row kind of lost me. So I did actually, like I said, I bought it and I have that version, but they said that they wanted to take the feedback that had been given to them because a lot of people weren't really loving the top row as much. So they switched out two of the shades and added in two new ones, and the first one is Harmonia, which is like that really bright teal shade, and then Wolfing looks like a rose gold, like kind of like a pinky orange shift. It reminds me of an Urban Decay eyeshadow, but I can't think of which one. So as far as changing the palette, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's actually really cool that they took the constructive criticism and decided to make it a little bit different, a little bit more fun. So I think that's really cool. They also offered for anyone who already bought the Feral palette to send them an email, and if you are willing to pay shipping, then they will send you the two new shades to put in your palette, which I think is really cool. If you live in the United States, because then like I sent them an email because I'm sure it's only going to be like $5 or something to get the two new shades. That's not a big deal, but my mind immediately went to anyone who's international. I'm sure that would be like $20 for two shades. So that kind of stinks. I guess it's kind of like, I appreciate the constructive criticism being taken, but when you change it after people have already bought it, it kind of leaves a little bit of like extra room for criticism, because some people like the palette the way it is, some people don't. Some people who, didn't buy it are going to be really excited or going to be upset because they want the original and not the new one. And then people who already bought it might be upset because they want the new one and not the original. So it's kind of like a whole thing. Like, it's a little bit more like messy, but I think it's cool. I like it, but I could see why people would be upset about it. And especially, like I said, for someone who's international, it's not going to be as easy to get. Black Rose Cosmetics, another Australian indie brand, released all of their single eyeshadows. I think that they're $8.50 Australian dollars each, so that's pretty, maybe like $6 US, something along those lines. That's a guess. But they revealed all the colors as well, and I think I showed them when they had only revealed a few, so you can see the whole picture here. And I'm just going to say the top right corner, those swatches there, like the three greens and the yellow shade, those really speak to me. The super bright shade on the bottom right corner, and then maybe like super bright purple on the left bottom corner, I think is really, really stunning as well. So these look nice. But I think this is their first time doing eyeshadows, so I'm definitely going to wait a while, look for reviews, see what other people are saying, because, the shipping from Australia and everything would probably be expensive to try something that I'm not sure about, so I'm going to wait for reviews. But I do think that some of these shades look really, really stunning and unique, so I am curious about the brand. So next, Alomar Cosmetics revealed their new Reina del Caribe Volume 2 palette, and also the Ojitos Brush Trio 2. And as far as the palette goes, I do like it. I think it's pretty. It's not what I was expecting, and I'm not sure. I don't know. Okay, I really, really like the formula of Alomar Cosmetics original palette, so I am kind of tempted to pick this up, but I think I'm going to wait a little bit and see. It's not something I feel like I'm going to pick up right away. Also, someone on my Instagram, I can't even remember who it was, I do apologize, mentioned that the Glamlite pizza palette, which I just got in the mail yesterday, has some really similar tones to this. Let me just pull this back. Like, the bottom matte shades, the ham, the marinara, and the black olives are super similar. The yellow in here is actually a shimmer. It's not a matte shade, so that one's not close. There's also a brighter purple shimmer there. Like I said, that one's gold, there's a gold in there. So I think like there are some really similar tones to this, which I just got. And then I feel like the other shades in the palette I probably could dupe in my collection. So I think this is one of those times when I have to tell myself, just because you like something doesn't mean you need to own it. I feel like that's something like I've been trying to ingrain in my brain so that I don't spend as much money on makeup, that just because I might like it, and I'm sure that if I got this I would love it. I'm sure I would love the formula, but that doesn't mean that I need to pick it up when I already have the shades. So I think for now it's a pass for me. It's also just not quite what I was expecting, because Gabby, the owner, she kind of mentioned that it was like, I don't know, she thought that it was really on trend and that she was really glad with the color she picked out because they felt a little bit more risky when she first did it. And I don't know, I just don't see the risk. I mean, sure, there's a few colorful shades here, but I don't know, it's just not what I was expecting. So moving on, Makeup Slate did some really cute holiday collection bundles. They're like stocking stuffers. I believe they're $14 or $15 each, and they all come with a highlighter and then 4 different eyeshadow shades. So I'll put them on screen now. There's Sugar Cookie, Ginger Bread, Peppermint, and Winter Wonderland. I think these are super cute. I don't feel like I need to purchase them, but I do really I like the idea. I think if you have anyone in your life who likes indie brands or wants to try something new, that would be a really cute gift. Like if I was gifted that, I would think that was like so amazing. That would definitely be like right up my alley. So I think that's really cute, and I like that the different highlighters have different, like they look like what their set name is, so I think it's cute. Alright, so next, Lovelocks Beauty came out with some new Opolustrous Pressed Pigment, and these are supposed to be like intense, eye-safe, sparkly, iridescent. They're $8 each, they're foiled, and they look really beautiful from the swatches. They actually just released a few minutes ago, so whenever I finish this video, I'm actually going to go creep on the website and see. There's like a really light minty green, and I'm kind of really curious about the formula, so I might pick up a few of these. So I just thought I would mention them because the swatches look really pretty, really intense, and I'm like, I live for a super intense foiled shadow, so I'm really curious about these. I also figured I would mention this brand. What's their name? This is MB Boutique. They released a few different palettes, and I think the amount of palettes they released is actually kind of overwhelming. So they released a green palette, which I'll put on screen, and this is really beautiful to look at, and I like the idea of it, but I feel like it's just too big. There's too many similar shades here. Like, don't get me wrong, I would love an all green palette, but I feel like if it was half and half, like mattes and shimmers, or this was like a smaller, like just like a quad or like a quint of shimmery green shadows, I could see being more interested in that. But this, I feel like, is just a little bit too much. I just feel like it's something I wouldn't reach for as often. And then they came out with a Duochrome eyeshadow palette, which this one looks really beautiful. This one's interesting. All pressed Duochromes. But I just bought a Duochrome palette, so I feel like I really don't need it. And then they released this palette, which I believe they're calling the Love palette, and it's all shimmers except for one matte, all like pinky purpley tones. I just feel like I like what they're doing here. I like the monochromatic. I like it. I really do like the Duochrome. That one's tempting me, but also I feel like it's a lot to release at the same time, like 3 different full palettes that are $45 each, all at the same time. I don't know. I feel like it's overwhelming. Like maybe if it was one at a time, I'd be like, oh yeah, like okay, and maybe, but I don't know, just something about all at the same time feels like a lot. So I don't know. I'm curious. I don't think I've ever seen anyone talk about them before or do reviews or anything, so I'll keep my eyes open, especially for the Duochrome one. So now let's go ahead and jump on into trend mood and talk about a few mainstream releases. So first off, something that caught my eye is that Olivia Jade collaborated with Sephora Collection, and this is already a pass for me because Sephora Collection is not cruelty free, unfortunately. But I thought this was cool because I've been watching, no, okay, I wouldn't say I like consistently watch her, but I do watch Olivia Jade, probably just because her mom is Aunt Becky from Full House. Let's be honest here, and I love Full House. I feel like it's just my show. But I thought it was cool that she got a collaboration. The products look really nice. The campaign shoot looked really stunning, so I thought that was cool. As far as the actual shades in the palette go, I kind of have like that same feeling where it's like with every face palette, it's like all put together and it doesn't like I wish that there was like variations for different skin tones, but it makes more sense with a collaboration because obviously if you collaborate, you're going to make your dream product make exactly what would work for you, for her skin tone. So it's not going to be the palette for everyone, I don't think. Um, just my 2 cents on it, but I thought it was cool that she got a collab. So next, ColourPop released some new single shadows, and I feel like people were going crazy for these, and I definitely am not. I think the major reason why is because my singles I love to refer back to. I guess I love to use them for dupes. I love to make my own palettes out of them. And ColourPop, they discontinue things like there's no tomorrow. So like these singles might all be available today, and like in 3 weeks they'll discontinue like 4 of them, and then in like 5 weeks they'll discontinue another 2. And I just don't. I don't want to get an attachment to a shadow that's not going to stay around, especially just because of the way I like to use my singles. So I was kind of, I didn't feel like super excited about it. I also think it's very smart for ColourPop to release this because a lot of people have been asking for colors. So it makes sense that because ColourPop is so safe and they do everything like neutral, that they would release colors as singles so you could basically buy the ones that you want, so that, you know, if there are people out there who don't really like to use colorful shadows, it makes sense. They might still buy 1 or 2 and not the whole thing, whereas if a palette was full of colorful shadows, they would just pass up on the whole thing, if that makes any sense. So I guess it works for them. But yeah, I'm not really excited about it at all. Plus, I feel like it's not expensive to make a ColourPop palette, but the cost of getting like the full-size shadows and like doing your dream colorful palette from ColourPop is way more than it would have been if they would just release one of their small palettes with an interesting color scheme. So that's a pass for me. Next, ColourPop also did a collaboration with Kathleen Lights, and this is the Twinkling Lights collection. I think it's really pretty, and I do like the two, the Ultra Matte and the Ultra Satin Lip. I think are really pretty. The Super Shock shadows are like fine, I guess, but I just decided to pass on this whole collection. I just don't feel like I don't need it. I'm not excited about it. I really like Kathleen. I used to buy every single collab that she had, but I think, you know, you don't have to buy something from someone to support them. So next, Physicians Formula is coming out with some new products, which of course I'm excited about. So they're coming out with a sculpting bronzer, and it looks like it's a deeper, cooler shade. I'm not sure for who. The person who's swatching it looks like she has like a medium tan skin tone. I'm not exactly sure. I wish that instead of coming out with a new like sculpting bronzer, they would expand their bronzer shade range, because I got the bronzer palette in like medium dark or something like that whenever they released the palettes, because I already owned everything in the lighter palette and I wanted to get the perfume. So I got the deeper palette because it was different products. And with a really light hand, I was able to make that bronzer work. So I feel like, what does it say about your bronzer shade range if me, paper white person here, can make the deepest bronzer that you have work for my skin tone? So I wish that they would just expand instead of, like, they just need to make deeper shades instead of trying to do a different kind of bronzer. I will say that the blushes look really, really pretty. Like the shade Beachy Peach definitely got me. Like that is such a stunning shade, but I don't see myself purchasing these right now. I definitely don't need them in my collection. Alright, so next, this is actually pretty funny to me. Okay, remember the whole thing that we talked about last week about Beautyblender and like, oh, it's a blue sponge. Well, now they came out with a ultraviolet sponge. Okay, the hype wasn't as real for this one. It honestly just looks like a slightly more purple version of the regular Beautyblender, so it's kind of like, nah, like, okay, you came up with another color. But then they also did launch a Beautyblender swirl, which is cute, but it's already been done. It's already been done. It's already been done. You know, they were the first sponge, but they're kind of late to the swirl train. So, yeah, no, you can't convince me to buy the sponge for $20 for a swirl. Especially because, I don't even know if I've talked about this yet, I'm probably going to include it in my yearly favorites, but the Shop Miss A sponge, the pink one, is so good that I will never, ever, ever pay for an expensive sponge again. But I just thought this was funny after the conversation we had last week. So they're finally catching up with the times a little bit, but I was hoping to see something cooler. Alright, I also wanted to mention that they did go ahead and expand their foundation range, which I'm really glad about. They expanded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shades. Which, you know, I'm always excited to see an expansion. I did see a lot of people saying like they should have had these shades to begin with, which I totally agree with, totally understand. But either way, they did go ahead and take that constructive criticism and that feedback, and they made new shades. So I'm glad that they continued and did something better, because I've seen a lot of brands not have great shade ranges, and then they continue to not have great shade ranges. They don't try to make it any better. They release a new foundation and it's still just as horribly of a shade range. So at least they're trying, I will say that. And they did come out with a new lightest shade. I actually did try the second one now, 1.10N, in store, and I thought on my hand it looked good. I actually liked the way that it felt. I thought the bottle was really nice, but I didn't feel like I needed it at all. So it was a pass for me. It's still a pass for me, but either way, I'm glad to see the expansion. Alright, so something that I meant to talk about last week, but I literally have the worst memory ever. Lunar Beauty came out with a new collection, and they came out with the Greek Goddess color palette. And this is $48, and I mean, it's really basic shades. Like, I don't really even have to say anything. Like, obviously, those are basic shades. There's a lot of warm neutrals and one pop of blue. The thing that I don't like about this palette in particular is that the original Lunar Beauty palette, Life's a Drag, I felt like it looked different. It had its own style to it, like the amount of shades that it had, the way it was, like, just the style of the palette. It kind of, I mean, it wasn't anything super unique or interesting, packaging wise, but it was its own thing. It did look like its own thing. It looked like its own category of palette. Like the way that the Naked Heat palette and the Naked Cherry palette and the, like, all the Naked palettes look the same. Like, it kind of has like its own like little thing, if that makes any sense. And then I saw this palette and I feel like this looks like so much else that's on the market. Like, it looks exactly like a ColourPop palette, and given the formula is probably not the same, but when I look at it, I just see ColourPop and then you see $48. So I wouldn't buy this to begin with because of the colors, but I don't know, I like the outside packaging, which is really beautiful, but I wish that the inside he had continued to do something more unique that kind of just was like, oh yeah, like something that when you look at it, you think, oh, that's Lunar Beauty. Because if you showed me this and I didn't know that it was Lunar Beauty, I would say that's ColourPop, like without a doubt, especially the color scheme. He also came out with a highlighter palette, $40, 6 shades. Looks like a shade for each skin tone basically. So you know my gripe on this. You're gonna buy it, only be able to use 1 or 2 or 3 shades, not gonna be able to use the full palette, and then you don't get your full money's worth out of it. So that's a complete pass. Also, it looks just like the BH Cosmetics Spotlight highlight palette. So that's my thoughts. Let me see, is there anything else that I had saved here to talk about? I think that is everything for today. All right, so I'll scoot to the middle. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.